Welcome to a special episode of Dairy Country, where we bring you the stories within the latest Dairy Country publication out now, autumn 2026. And this is quite a cool, unique episode, a special episode because of a release of something quite exciting for our dairy farmers and calf rearers in New Zealand. When you're listening to this, it should be starting to roll out. It is in March 2026. It is Bovillus Cryptium and MSD Animal Health have been releasing this particular new vaccine that has actually already been introduced around the world. And we're very lucky on this episode to be joined by a Ruminant Animal Health special vet based in Ireland for MSD, as well as Andrew MacPherson, who's from MSD here in New Zealand, joining me both now. Andrew, I'm just going to come to you. We've put this article out in the Dairy Country. It's been out around media in New Zealand, and I understand from you, farmers are already jumping on the phone to vets. Why is this particular new vaccine for calves so exciting to finally have in the market here in New Zealand?
Yeah, it is very exciting, Sarah. It's a parasite cryptosporidium called crypto locally, and it's just a really awkward. It's a protozoan organism, so it's different to a virus or a bacteria, and we've never had anything really that could deal with it proactively. So having this vaccine come on the market is a game changer, and I'm sure Cara will be able to share some of her experiences about having it already in Ireland. So we're really excited, and farmers are ringing their vets and asking, when can we have it? Because they've heard about it already.
Cara, tell our audience a little bit about your role for MSD in Ireland.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. So for the last almost 10 years, I have been with MSD Animal Health on the technical vet team. We're currently a team of 4, which I head up, which I manage. Before that, I was in practice. So I guess, like Andrew says, crypto is the bane of our existence here in Ireland as well. It's one of 2 of the top causes of scour in calves less than 2-3 weeks of age here. So we were delighted that a vaccine was coming to market. Like yourselves, it was long awaited and long talked about before we actually got it. And now we have it in the market for the last over 18 months, since July 2024.
Okay, so Cara, for those who haven't heard of it yet and are getting excited about the fact that now we can have a vaccine and be able to effectively create antibodies within the dam for passive transfer to the calf, can you explain what we've done prior to this and how this works in practice?
Okay, so with regards to what we've done prior, as in, what do you mean, Sarah, in the field, how have we managed
Managing
crypto? Yeah, badly, really, because we've been limited in our options. So it was essentially down to either trying to control it with management, trying to reduce the challenge, but then to try and increase the calves' immunity to be able to fight the disease, all that we really had in our armoury was oral halofuginone product, which MSD does supply as well. So that was a product that you gave to the calves every day for 7 days in a row. However, that was only, and we still have it available on the market and continues to be used. It is, however, capped in its ability. It is only able to slow down the life cycle of crypto rather than target it with vaccination to produce antibodies against it. And then, unfortunately, in the last certainly 5+ years here across the island of Ireland, we have seen an over-reliance on oral antibiotics, on Perriam-Lampp, in the fight against crypto. But of course, it's a world problem. We all want to reduce our antibiotic usage, so we were crying out for a vaccine.
Andrew's very excited about it finally hitting the shores here in New Zealand. What standout results have you seen in Ireland with farmers using the vaccine and the impact on farm?
What we've seen, well, one, a massive interest, as you're already seeing in New Zealand, a massive interest in it in the arrival of the vaccine. And then since it's in use, so really here, quite like yourselves, from my limited knowledge of New Zealand, we have a lot of seasonal systems. So we're facing into our second full spring of calving. So we have a full spring that we have experienced with the use of Cryptium. And what we have found is that all in all, the results have been really, really positive by vets and farmers working together they've really used Bovillus Cryptium as part of the overall control of calf scour around the farm, alongside Rotavac Corona, which has been here for the last 25 plus years. So the two together have made a massive difference in the reduction of calf scour on farm from what we've seen.
Andrew, how does crypto affect young calves? And why is it so important to get on top of this for the longevity of their performance in their lifetime?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Sarah. It's a really it's an interesting little organism. It's a single-celled organism. It infects or it attaches to the gut lining, and basically it destroys the villi, so reduces the calf's ability to absorb nutrients and the milk or colostrum that it's getting, and that affects them long term with their growth rates through their life, and then ultimately that affects how they go into production as well. So and of course, if they really get bad scours, they get very dehydrated and they can actually die. They take a lot of resources to manage that. Cara mentioned antibiotics in Ireland. We don't really use those. We use Helicure, which is an MSD product, but you're really kind of chasing your tail with that, and it's very labor intensive. So this is something that we are really excited about because it can prevent and certainly reduce the shedding in the calf areas.
So, Andrew, how you've currently MSD, we've got vaccines around things like Rotavac for rotavirus. So, vaccines for calves is kind of not a new concept. It just is for crypto, but it kind of slightly differs, I understand, in the administration process. So, can you sort of talk our audience through that kind of administration and making sure we're getting it at the right time before calving?
Yes, that's a really important factor. It is not for a bacteria or virus like our Rotavac Corona. It's for a protozoan organism, and it's slightly different, the vaccination protocol. In the very first lactation or the first calving, they need 2 shots, 4 to 5 weeks apart, but no closer. The second one, no closer than 3 weeks pre-calving. And subsequent years, then that can be just given before 3 weeks before calving. So the Rotavac Corona can be given at the second shot, 3 weeks before calving in a different location, and that just continues after they get those 2 initial shots in their very first calving. So slightly different.
Cara, what flow-on effect have you seen in the last 2 years? I understand it came in July 2024, so you're coming up to nearly 2 years. You noticed a huge lift in animal health within calving systems?
Yes, definitely an improvement in welfare, which is always good. It's good for the people dealing with the calves, but it's also good for the perception of the industry as well. 'Cause that is, we're all in the spotlight. The other point that is, I think, really worthwhile making is from a labour point of view. One, once you get calf scour in a unit, it's just so labour heavy, but also from a labour point of view of how to manage crypto like you do with rotavirus, to be able to administer the vaccines to the dams, and then absolutely your colostrum and your transition milk management is really important. But that's really important anyway. Versus giving a product like a halofuginone every day for 7 days. Absolutely, it's doable. But when you have hundreds of calves on the ground, it is very hard to keep track of that. And it's just another job in the day, isn't it?
Andrew, we talked about when we were writing the article for Dairy Country about, the uniqueness of passive transfer between cow and calf versus humans and how important absorbing that colostrum is. What's making sure that first 24 hours that to make sure the vaccine is transferred?
Yeah, it's so important that transfer of colostrum, those first milk has to be absorbed into the calf's body, basically through its stomach, and that system of absorption closes down after 24 hours, and it gradually reduces with time before that 24 hours are up. So we really need to get that good quality colostrum into them early, and maybe a second feed as well before 24 hours is up. After that, the transition milk has still got a lot of antibodies in it, which is really important for that local protection in the gut. So that's why we advise continuing to feed transition milk for as long as possible. And the label says 5 days, but as long as you can.
Cara, have you seen calf rearing systems sort of change now that they have this tool in their toolbox?
Yeah, we definitely have. Well, just as Andrew's noted there, the 5 days of transition milk, but as long as possible. And that's our advice as well. And what we've seen is everybody knows we should feed transition milk for as long as we can. But I guess from a labour point of view, calves end up going onto an automatic feeder sooner rather than later, because get them into the big shed, it's less labour heavy. But I do feel, and it's an absolute compliment to Irish farmers as well, that they are willing to put in the extra few days when the calves are young to feed them more transition milk. And of course, then if you're after having the investment of adding an additional vaccine into your protocol, you'll be sure you actually give the transition milk. So it's a benefit for the vaccine, yes, but it's also a benefit for the calves just from the wholesome goodness that is transition milk and prolonged feeding.
Are you able to monitor and see the sort of performance metrics going on into those R1s, R2s, those heifers when they're starting to come into milk and that impact on them having a good start in life? Is it too early to tell?
It's too early to tell, but this is our plan. Is that what we want to see is, so if you take, for instance, and I suppose, albeit we had the vaccine on the market from July 24 and predominantly for the second half of 24, it would have been used quite a bit in Northern Ireland, just with they have a lot of autumn calvers up there. Of course, our seasons are turned on its head. Whereas the bulk of calves, as in the numbers, was in spring. So this time last year in Southern Ireland, because that's where predominant dairy heavy country is. So what we're hoping to see, that say calves, dairy heifer calves that were born in spring 2025, they will be calving down in spring 2027. And it's really only then that we will see the full benefit of this, because we do know that the overall cost of cryptosporidiosis is not just in the calves, it's actually in the cost of producing your dairy heifer. And I know there's a study from the Netherlands that says it's €195 per successfully reared heifer, which is huge. What we have managed to do as well, thankfully, is that we have got Cryptium into some of our research organisations. So our Teagasc farms, which is our national research body. And of course, they're super because they're monitoring everything anyway, whereas it's not always so easy to do on commercial farms. So watch this space. We'll have to have another podcast.
We definitely love learning from our Irish friends, Andrew, don't we? Because the systems are so similar. And we're looking now at spring 26 as a predominant usage. If we're listening to this in March, what's your advice for those listening to get in touch with their vets and plan early?
Yeah, I just think they really need to talk to their vets and organise the vaccination protocols. It's quite easy. They can just work backwards from planned start of calving. They don't want to be 3 weeks before planned start of calving, and then they've got a gap between 4 to 5 weeks where they can give the sensitizer and then the booster.
Cara?
Yeah, and actually very similar. I guess what we would have learned from this time last year is that because it's a new vaccine that's coming to market, and I guess there is an element of let's wait and see how other people get on. And then what we felt were people were tempted to rush it. And certainly what we have learned is it deserves its respect in the vaccination programme, that the 2 doses, 4 to 5 weeks apart, no less than 3 weeks to start of the head of calving, so that you actually get the full benefit of the vaccine for the animals, for your investment.
Yes, absolutely. The advice is think 12 weeks prior to your intended first calving date, correct? And work backwards from that, but then get in touch with your vet prior to that so that you've got that organised as part of your system.
Yeah, and they may have to do batch vaccination if they've got a really broad calving spread. So that's something that they can talk and discuss with their vets.
Yeah.
It's very doable, yeah.
This is an incredibly serious disease, as we do know that crypto has such a huge impact, particularly on those who are autoimmune compromised, young children, pregnant women who are involved in calf rearing. So if we can get on top of this disease within our calf sheds, it's an absolute no-brainer. Thank you so very much, Andrew MacPherson, Technical Advisor for Livestock for MSD Animal Health, and Cara Sheridan there joining us from Ireland as part of the MSD technical team in the veterinary side, sharing her learnings around the impact of this brand new vaccine that has freshly come onto the market. So all the details on how to learn more are at a special website, bovillus.co.nz. We'll put in the link below, as well as the link to the article on Dairy Country for more details. If you have your Dairy Country magazine, I suggest please go and have a look at that, because there is some really good diagrams in there around how that passive transfer works, as well as those dates we talked about around administration of the vaccine and how to be able to bring that into sync with your other vaccination programs as well. But as Andrew clearly said there, the best thing to do is, as soon as you hear this, reach out to your vet and talk about how to integrate that into your calf rearing system for spring 2026. And of course, the MSD Animal Health team are there for any advice at any time. Thank you so much for listening.